Listen very closely to this eerie sound. It is not mere static. It is the echoing radio emissions recorded directly by the Cassini spacecraft as it plunged toward Saturn. For centuries, humanity peered through telescopes and declared it the jewel of the solar system, a serene orb encircled by golden halos. Yet, as NASA researchers analyzed the final data, a horrifying truth emerged. That striking visual beauty is merely a cosmic trap. Beneath that radiant yellow canopy, there is absolutely no peace. But what no one expected was that the most beautiful planet in our sky is actually a violently churning engine of destruction. What lies beneath those clouds is not just unsettling. It changes everything we thought we knew. Consider the sheer scale of this colossal gas giant. It possesses a volume so immense that it could easily swallow 760 Earths whole. Yet, despite this overwhelming size, it harbors a physical contradiction that completely defies human intuition. It is the only planet in our entire solar system with an overall density that is lower than that of liquid water. If you could somehow construct a cosmic ocean vast enough to hold it, this monstrous sphere would simply float upon the surface. It is a deceptively light outer shell, a fragile optical illusion masking the incredibly violent forces that are continually churning just beneath the visible cloud tops. This is where the story takes a cosmic turn. As we descend through those uppermost layers of the golden haze, the illusion of planetary tranquility shatters completely. On our homeworld, a Category 5 hurricane with wind speeds reaching 250 kilometers per hour is cataclysmic enough to erase entire cities from the map. But at the equator of this gas giant, the atmosphere is continuously torn apart by relentless, supersonic jet streams. Official telemetry data recorded by both the Voyager and Cassini spacecraft confirmed that these equatorial winds roar through the atmosphere at an agonizing velocity of 1,800 kilometers per hour. And that is only the baseline weather pattern. Every 30 Earth years, which equates to exactly one single orbit for this distant giant around the Sun, a monstrous atmospheric anomaly awakens from the deep interior. Astronomers referred to it as the Great White Spot. It is a planetary-scale thunderstorm of unimaginable proportions that erupts and aggressively wraps around the entire circumference of the globe. The intense lightning strikes generated within this turbulent beast are 10,000 times more powerful than the most devastating electrical storms ever recorded on Earth. It violently churns up vast quantities of pure ammonia ice from the lower depths, temporarily transforming the usually golden sphere into a terrifying, churning, pale white ghost. Yet, the most deeply disturbing atmospheric feature resides at the extreme North Pole. According to the standard laws of fluid dynamics, spinning atmospheric gases should inherently form circular vortices or spiraling bands. Nature is simply not supposed to draw perfectly straight lines, but spinning endlessly in the northern darkness is a flawless geometric anomaly, a perfect hexagon. This is a perpetual hurricane with outer walls wide enough to swallow 4 entire Earths placed side by side. At its absolute center lies a bottomless, deep red vortex, staring out into the freezing void like a massive, unblinking eye. No physicist on Earth could have ever predicted its existence through theoretical models until our robotic space probes finally arrived and captured the horrifying raw images. Plunging continuously beneath the violent, storm-riddled atmospheric bands, the visible light from our distant sun rapidly fades into absolute, impenetrable darkness. However, a profound thermal anomaly immediately becomes apparent to our most advanced scientific instruments. Despite orbiting in the freezing, desolate regions of the outer solar system, this colossal gas giant emits exactly twice as much thermal radiation into the cold void of space as it absorbs from the sun. For decades, astrophysicists rigorously analyzed this immense energy output, fully aware that a planet of this specific age should have cooled off billions of years ago. The planetary core should logically be dormant. Yet, it burns continuously with an immense internal furnace, emitting a relentless heat signature that completely defies all standard planetary cooling models. there is a staggering, unseen source of energy hidden deep within the crushing darkness, fundamentally altering our understanding of planetary physics. The horrifying truth is that the deeper we descend into this abyss, the more the fundamental laws of terrestrial physics begin to completely break down. As we sink thousands of kilometers below the upper cloud tops, the atmospheric pressure and the surrounding temperature escalate to absolutely absurd, incomprehensible levels. In this extreme environment, the vast mixture of hydrogen and helium gas undergoes a terrifying and relentless phase transition. The helium begins to actively condense out of the surrounding atmosphere, forming massive, incredibly dense, and exceptionally heavy liquid droplets. These enormous droplets of pure liquid helium relentlessly rain down through the vast, thick layers of pressurized fluid hydrogen. As billions of tons of this heavy liquid helium fall endlessly toward the gravitational center of the planet, the immense mechanical friction generated by their descent produces colossal amounts of kinetic energy. This violent phenomenon, officially known as helium rain, is the true thermodynamic engine driving the planet, literally roasting the giant world from the inside out and continuously fueling the supersonic storms raging high above. But the descent into this planetary abyss becomes exponentially more disturbing. Sinking further into the absolute depths, the environmental pressure reaches a magnitude tens of millions of times greater than the standard atmospheric pressure at sea level on our home planet. Here, the very structure of atoms is forced to yield to gravity. The intense, crushing weight compresses the hydrogen so severely that the individual molecular bonds are completely shattered. Their electrons are violently stripped away, leaving them completely free to flow in a bizarre and highly volatile state of matter. The hydrogen is forcefully squeezed into a dense state, officially known as liquid metallic hydrogen. It is a boundless, churning, deeply terrifying, electrically conductive ocean that has absolutely no physical counterpart on our world. This volatile metallic sea constantly boils, rotates, and convects, acting as a massive planetary dynamo that generates an intensely powerful and uniquely deadly magnetic field that stretches millions of kilometers out into the surrounding solar system. The physical implications of this deep interior structure are profoundly terrifying. If any human-made machine or any living biological entity were to fall into this descent, they would never strike a solid, rocky surface. There is no planetary ground to catch a fall. Instead, any falling object would be subjected to a journey of pure, unadulterated annihilation. Long before ever reaching the metallic ocean, the structural integrity of the strongest titanium alloys ever forged would definitively fail. The entity would be mercilessly crushed by the sheer atmospheric weight, then immediately melted by the blistering internal heat generated by the falling helium rain, and ultimately vaporized at a fundamental molecular level by the extreme heat and pressure of the conductive metallic currents. The environment is completely hostile to the existence of any ordinary structured matter. It is a realm of pure destruction, rendering everything into fundamental particles. It is a true cosmic horror show. Ascending from the crushing atmospheric depths, we emerge to witness the most recognizable feature of this entire planetary system. From the safety of our distant terrestrial vantage point, the iconic orbital structure appears serene, majestic, and perfectly formed. Through the lenses of early telescopes, these expansive bands resemble the flawlessly smooth, solid grooves of a massive record crafted from pure, unblemished gold. They consistently project an aura of eternal stillness and cosmic elegance. But what struck me the most was the sheer, unadulterated violence hidden right within that elegant optical illusion. Extensive radar mapping and close proximity flybys have definitively proven that the rings are not solid bands of matter. If you were to pilot a heavily armored spacecraft directly into them, you would immediately realize that you have entered a chaotic, high-speed orbital blizzard. They are primarily composed of trillions upon trillions of jagged water ice chunks and rocky fragments, ranging in physical size from microscopic grains of dust to massive floating mountains. These jagged projectiles are not drifting peacefully. They are violently colliding, shattering, and constantly reforming as they orbit the giant world at staggering velocities reaching tens of thousands of kilometers per hour. Yet, despite spanning hundreds of thousands of kilometers across the freezing void of space, their vertical structure is absurdly thin. In specific, highly concentrated regions, the entire ring system measures a mere 10 meters thick. It is an orbital structure so vast yet so impossibly flat that it acts like a blindingly bright razor blade slicing directly through the cosmic darkness. The true horror of this massive system, however, lies in its profoundly violent origin. According to extensive astronomical models and orbital dynamics, this magnificent structure is essentially the physical aftermath of a brutal cosmic murder. Hundreds of millions of years ago, a wandering moon made a fatal orbital miscalculation. It drifted too close to the hostile gas giant, crossing a terrifying gravitational boundary officially defined in astrophysics as the Roche limit. At this precise mathematical distance, the sheer tidal forces exerted by the colossal planet fundamentally overwhelmed the internal physical bonds holding the moon together. The immense gravity of the giant showed absolutely no mercy. It violently grabbed the smaller celestial body and mercilessly shredded it, completely tearing the frozen crust directly away from its dense core. The majestic halos of light that humanity has spent centuries romanticizing are not peaceful decorations. This entire orbital region is paved with coffins. When we look up at that glowing golden ring system through our observatories, we are actually staring at a planetary graveyard, quietly admiring the scattered guts of a dead world trapped forever in an endless, spinning purgatory. Beyond the razor-sharp orbital graveyard of the main rings, the gas giant rules over a massive, chaotic entourage of highly diverse moons. Among them silently drifts Mimas, a relatively small, icy sphere bearing a catastrophic and terrifying structural wound. Dominated entirely by the colossal Herschel crater, this heavily scarred moon bears a chilling, almost exact physical resemblance to the fictional Death Star weapon. That massive impact basin is not merely a surface blemish, it is the permanent physical record of a brutal, high-velocity cosmic collision that nearly shattered the entire celestial body into microscopic fragments. It stands as a silent, frozen testament to the relentless gravitational violence governing this outer planetary system. Yet, the most deeply unsettling world in this entire orbital neighborhood is the planetary behemoth officially designated as Titan. It is an absolute atmospheric anomaly. Out of all the known moons in our entire solar system, Titan is the only one possessing a dense, fully developed atmosphere. In fact, the atmospheric pressure continuously pressing down on its surface is significantly heavier and thicker than the standard air pressure experienced at sea level on Earth. For decades, this incredibly dense, opaque orange photochemical smog completely concealed the alien landscape below, keeping its terrifying topographical secrets completely hidden from human observation. That absolute veil of cosmic ignorance was finally pierced on January 14th, 2005. In one of the greatest yet frequently overlooked technological achievements in human spaceflight history, the European Space Agency successfully deployed the Huygens lander. Detaching from the primary Cassini spacecraft, the lonely robotic probe began a terrifying, completely blind descent through the thick, toxic alien haze. Taking over 2 hours to parachute through the heavy atmosphere, Huygens plunged deeper into the murky, blood-orange sky. It continuously transmitted raw telemetry, atmospheric chemical data, and eerie audio recordings of the alien winds back to Earth, slowly revealing a twisted, nightmare reflection of our own home world. The environmental reality at the final landing site defied all conventional terrestrial geological expectations. The officially recorded surface temperature was a bone-chilling -179 degrees Celsius, which translates to an agonizing -290 degrees Fahrenheit. Huygens conclusively documented a highly active, functioning planetary weather system, but one completely devoid of life-giving water. Due to the extremely low surface gravity of the moon, massive, heavy drops of alien rain fall incredibly slowly from the hazy red sky. But this atmospheric precipitation is composed entirely of highly toxic liquid methane and liquid ethane. The robotic probe successfully touched down on a dark, desolate plain, surrounded by what initially appeared to be ordinary terrestrial hills and sweeping sand dunes. However, advanced spectral analysis quickly proved that the loose sand forming these massive, shifting dunes is not composed of ordinary silicate quartz. They are entirely built from electrostatically charged hydrocarbon grains, shifted by the dense atmospheric winds. It is essentially a sprawling, endless planetary desert constructed from highly volatile plastic dust. Furthermore, the scattered, rounded objects lying directly beneath the mechanical landing gear of the Huygens probe were not actually rocks at all. In this extreme cryogenic environment, ordinary water freezes so absolutely solid that it permanently achieves the structural density and immense physical hardness of forged steel. Everything on this moon perfectly mimics the familiar geological and hydrological cycles of Earth, but it replaces the vital ingredients of biological life with frozen toxic industrial chemicals. I gotta be honest with you. Looking at the actual raw images sent back from Huygens, seeing an alien shoreline carved by liquid gas, it's profoundly disturbing. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What would you feel if you stood on a beach where the rain itself is liquid methane? Moving further out from the toxic hydrocarbon haze of the larger moons, the robotic explorer encountered Enceladus, a relatively tiny, blindingly bright sphere of pure white ice. For decades, planetary astrophysicists confidently assumed this small satellite was completely frozen solid, a geologically dead relic floating silently in the outer solar system. But close proximity orbital flybys completely shattered that fundamental assumption. Deep parallel tectonic fractures, formerly classified as the Tiger Stripes, were discovered violently tearing across the southern polar region of the moon. From these massive glowing gravitational scars, Enceladus is actively bleeding. Colossal geysers continuously erupt from the surface, shooting massive plumes of water vapor and icy particles hundreds of kilometers out into the freezing vacuum of space at staggering supersonic velocities. The Cassini spacecraft executed highly daring and dangerous maneuvers, flying directly through these erupting plumes to sample the alien spray. The chemical analysis returned to Earth was absolutely staggering. The onboard mass spectrometers definitively detected distinct traces of sodium salts, silica nanograins, and highly complex organic molecules. These profound geological readings proved definitively that beneath the thick, frozen outer crust, there exists a massive global ocean of warm, liquid water kept heated by the relentless gravitational kneading of the giant gas planet. It is an active hydrothermal environment possessing the fundamental chemical building blocks required for biological life, hidden entirely in the cold darkness. Every answer opens 3 more questions. However, the aggressive pursuit of these profound cosmic truths ultimately demanded a heartbreaking sacrifice. By the year 2017, the Cassini spacecraft had spent 13 proud and highly productive years gracefully navigating the treacherous orbital dynamics of the Saturnian system. But the artificial explorer was finally exhausting its vital supply of maneuvering propellant. The mission commanders back on Earth faced a terrifying and unprecedented ethical dilemma. Once the fuel reserves were entirely depleted, the spacecraft would become an uncontrollable dead piece of metallic debris. There was a significant statistical probability that the machine could eventually crash into the pristine, icy surface of Enceladus. Because spacecraft assembly cannot completely sterilize every microscopic internal component, Cassini carried the immense risk of contaminating the untouched alien ocean with dormant, highly resilient biological microbes from Earth. To absolutely guarantee the biological safety of what might be a delicately inhabited subsurface world, the planetary protection protocols mandated a permanent and devastating solution. The space agency commanded the robotic probe to execute a maneuver officially designated as the Grand Finale. It was a calculated, deliberate suicide mission. On September 15, 2017, the loyal mechanical messenger was ordered to permanently end its own existence. Cassini executed a final fatal orbital dive directly into the violently churning upper atmosphere of the gas giant it had relentlessly studied for over a decade. As the atmospheric density drastically increased, the aerodynamic drag became completely overwhelming. Yet, the spacecraft fought valiantly until the very last fraction of a second. It aggressively fired its remaining attitude control thrusters, fighting the extreme atmospheric turbulence to keep its primary high-gain antenna pointed precisely toward Earth. It was desperately transmitting the final, crucial bytes of atmospheric telemetry and chemical composition data back to its creators. Eventually, the immense atmospheric pressure and the extreme thermal friction generated by the hypersonic plunge became too immense. The titanium and aluminum structures melted, vaporized, and completely dissociated. The greatest artificial explorer in human history was utterly annihilated, its individual atoms scattering violently in the supersonic winds. The brave metallic messenger dissolved entirely, becoming a permanent, integrated component of the monstrous gas giant forever. From our distant terrestrial perspective, the radiant golden giant appears entirely eternal. Yet, the most profound astronomical revelation is that this breathtaking planetary system is actively decaying. Recent orbital telemetry explicitly confirms that the immense gravitational pull of the gas giant is continuously dragging the icy ring debris down into the upper atmosphere. This relentless, destructive deluge is formally classified by planetary scientists as ring rain. At the current rate of decay, in merely 100 million years, which is absolutely nothing but a fleeting blink of an eye, in the vast scale of cosmic time, the majestic halos will be completely erased from the solar system. This terrifying world is merely a temporary masterpiece of gravity and physical violence. The perpetual supersonic hurricanes, the blistering internal descent of liquid helium rain, and the heartbreaking, deliberate sacrifice of our greatest robotic machines do not represent a definitive dead end for human science. Instead, these extreme, fundamentally hostile environments reveal a brilliant new horizon for astrophysics. The universe isn't broken. Our map of it is just incomplete. Every terrifying anomaly we find on Saturn is just the cosmos whispering to us that there is so much more left to discover. What do you think? Does this change how you see our place in the cosmos? Thank you so very much for watching. The universe is full of terrifying yet beautiful mysteries, and exploring them together makes this journey incredible. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the dark cosmos, please subscribe and leave a comment below. I will keep exploring. See you all next time.